Rogue Protocol. The HS Defiant slipped silently through the void, its adaptive hull absorbing nearby starlight and rendering it nearly invisible against the backdrop of space. On the bridge, Commander Elena Reyes stood with perfect posture, dark eyes fixed on the tactical display. She was 43, with streaks of silver in her black hair, each one earned during 15 years of defending Earth's colonies. "Status report," she said, voice calm yet commanding. Lieutenant Arjun Patel looked up from his console. "All systems optimal, Commander. We're at the edge of human territory. Crimson Empire space begins approximately 300,000 kilometers ahead." Elena nodded. The Defiant was humanity's newest warship, built with technology that Earth's best scientists had only dreamed of a decade ago. What made it truly special wasn't just its advanced weapons systems or the phase shift drive. It was HFY, the ship's artificial reasoning intelligence assistant. HFY, sensor sweep, maximum range, passive mode only. A holographic figure materialized beside Elena, a woman made of blue light, lines of code occasionally rippling through her form. "Initiating sweep, Commander," Araya replied, her voice melodic yet precise. "This close to Crimson territory, I recommend focusing on their typical patrol patterns." Unlike other military AIs, ARIA had been designed to integrate with human intuition rather than replace it. She was the product of a breakthrough in quantum computing, capable of learning and adapting in ways that made some of Earth's military leadership nervous. But Elena had fought for this mission and this crew, half human, half integrated AI systems working in perfect harmony. "Commander," Aria's voice suddenly shifted to a more urgent tone. "I'm detecting unusual energy signatures at coordinates 347.82 by 192.5. It's in the neutral buffer zone between Crimson and Nova territories." Elena frowned. The Crimson Empire and Nova Collective had been bitter enemies for centuries, fighting over resources and territory across 3 spiral arms of the galaxy. Humanity had managed to carve out its own space, largely because the 2 alien powers were too busy fighting each other to focus on the upstart humans. "Put it on screen, maximum magnification." The main view screen shifted to show distant pinpoints of light, too organized to be stars. ARIA enhanced the image, applying filters to reveal the shapes of vessels. "That's impossible," breathed Chief Engineer Maya Wong as she entered the bridge. "Those are Crimson dreadnoughts alongside Nova carriers. They never operate in the same region unless they're shooting at each other." Elena leaned forward, studying the formations. "How many ships, ARIA?" "I count 47 Crimson vessels and 39 Nova ships of various classes. Based on their configurations and energy outputs, this appears to be a joint military exercise." The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. Lieutenant Commander Jack Reynolds, tactical officer and Elena's second-in-command, voiced what everyone was thinking. "They formed an alliance. Against us." Elena tapped her command console. "ARIA, run simulation." If these forces were to launch a coordinated attack on human space, what would our defensive capabilities look like? The holographic display shifted to show Earth's colonies and defense stations. Red warning indicators began to appear as ARIA's calculations progressed. "Even with our full fleet mobilized, we would be overwhelmed within 14 days, ARIA reported. "The combined technological advantages of both empires would neutralize our current defensive strategies." Elena straightened her uniform jacket. "We need to alert Earth Command immediately. Prepare a data package with all our sensor readings." "Commander," ARIA interrupted, "I've detected a problem. Our long-range communications array was damaged during our passage through the ion storm in Sector 12. We cannot transmit to Earth from this position." Jack ran a quick diagnostic. "She's right. We'd need to return to human space to send the warning." Elena paced the bridge, considering their options. If they returned to Earth, it would take at least 7 days at maximum speed. By then, the alien alliance might have already launched their invasion. "What if we don't go back?" she said finally. The bridge crew turned to look at her. "Standard protocol requires immediate reporting of this intelligence," Araya noted. "Yes, but standard protocol assumes we can't do anything about the threat," Elena countered. "What if we can?" Jack raised an eyebrow. "You're thinking of disrupting their alliance somehow." Elena nodded. Two ancient enemies suddenly working together. That kind of trust is fragile. If we can make them suspicious of each other again. "Commander," Araya's voice was cautious. "What you're suggesting would technically be an unauthorized offensive action." "I'm aware of that, Araya." Elena turned to face her crew. "I'm not ordering any of you to follow me. If we do this, it's volunteer only. We'd be on our own, potentially facing court-martial if we survive." Maya folded her arms across her chest. "You're talking about one ship against two empires. It's suicide." "Not necessarily," Araya interjected, her holographic form shifting as she processed possibilities. "If we utilize stealth tactics and target specific vulnerabilities in their alliance, we could create significant disruption with minimal risk." Elena looked at her tactical officer, Jack. He grinned, the scar on his cheek pulling tight. "One ship they don't expect, with technology they've never seen before. I like those odds." One by one, the bridge crew voiced their support. Even Maya, despite her initial skepticism, nodded her agreement. "Araya, you're technically bound by military protocols," Elena said to the AI. "This would be going against direct operational parameters." The holographic woman tilted her head, lines of code flowing faster through her form. "My primary directive is to protect Earth and its citizens. Based on my calculations, this course of action represents the highest probability of success given our current constraints." Elena nodded. "Then it's decided. Jack, I want a tactical plan for striking at their alliance. Maya, prep the phase shift drive for emergency use. Araya, identify the weakest points in their communications network." "Where do we hit first, Commander?" Jack asked. Elena studied the tactical display. "That," she said, pointing to a large structure near the gathered fleets. "What is that?" "That appears to be a joint command station," Araya replied. "Based on energy readings, it's likely where their leadership is coordinating the alliance." "Perfect." Elena smiled grimly. "We'll start by listening in. Araya, can you infiltrate their communications?" "Partially, Commander. I can access unsecured channels and potentially decrypt some of their tactical frequencies. However, physical proximity would improve our intelligence gathering capabilities." Elena turned to her crew. "Then let's get closer. Arjun, plot a course that keeps us in the shadow of that asteroid field. Minimum power, maximum stealth." As the Defiant changed course, Elena knew they were crossing a line. One ship against two vast alien empires seemed impossible, but humans had always excelled at defying the impossible. 3 days later, the Defiant drifted silently on the edge of the alien fleet's perimeter. Araya had managed to decrypt several communication channels, providing the crew with valuable intelligence. "They're planning a coordinated strike against the Sol system in 15 days, Jack reported, reviewing the intercepted data. "They'll hit our outer colonies first, then push straight to Earth." Elena studied the holographic representation of the enemy fleet. "What have we learned about their alliance?" Araya's holographic form expanded to show two alien figures. "The Crimson Empire is represented by High Marshal Vexer." She indicated the taller figure with red-scaled skin and 4 eyes. "The Nova Collective is represented by Archon Zelterran." The second figure was shorter, with pale blue skin and elongated limbs. "Based on their communications, this alliance is fragile," Araya continued. "Historical grievances remain, and there's significant distrust between their military commands. They've united solely because they perceive humanity as a greater threat to their dominance." "Why now?" Maya asked. "We've been neighbors for decades without major conflicts." "Our recent technological advancements," Elena realized. "The phase shift drive, our new defense systems. They're afraid we'll surpass them. Exactly, Araya confirmed. They fear human innovation rate. Our technology evolved faster in 50 years than theirs did in 5 centuries. Jack leaned forward. So we need to break their alliance before they attack. How? Elena smiled. We make them suspicious of each other again. Araya, how long would it take you to modify our weapon's signature to match Crimson technology? The AI paused, processing the request. Approximately 6 hours, Commander. However, I must point out that falsifying our identity in combat would be considered a violation of interstellar protocols. Noted, Elena replied. Let's do it. Then we'll attack a Nova outpost, make it look like the Crimson Empire is violating their agreement. And then we hit a Crimson target disguised as Nova forces. Jack added, catching on to the plan. Precisely. Araya identifies suitable targets, important enough to cause outrage, but not so heavily defended that we can't strike and escape. The holographic display shifted to show 2 locations. Nova Outpost K7 handles their regional communications. It's vital that operates with minimal defensive capabilities. For the Crimson Empire, their fuel processing station in the Tariq system would be optimal. The next 12 hours were a flurry of activity as the crew prepared for their first strike. Araya worked with Maya to modify the Defiance energy signatures, while Jack and his tactical team plotted attack vectors that would allow for quick escape. We're ready, Commander, Araya announced. The holographic representation of the Defiant now pulsed with the distinctive red energy pattern of Crimson vessels. Elena took a deep breath. This is our moment. We strike fast, we strike hard, and we disappear. No casualties if we can avoid it. We want to create suspicion, not martyrs. The Defiant powered up. Its stealth systems disengaged as it adopted its Crimson disguise. With a burst of acceleration, it broke from its hiding place and headed straight for the Nova outpost. They've spotted us, Argent reported. They're hailing us on Crimson frequencies. Ignore them, Elena ordered. Weapons ready. Targeting communications arrays and defensive systems only, Jack confirmed. Fire. The Defiant's modified weapons lashed out, striking the Nova outpost with precision. On the view screen, Elena could see confusion in the Nova response. Their ships hesitating, uncertain why their supposed allies were attacking. Their commander is sending emergency messages to the Crimson leadership, Araya reported, monitoring the communications. Accusations of betrayal. Perfect, Elena said. Hit their secondary power systems, then prepare to withdraw. The Defiant fired again, crippling the outpost's power grid. As alarms blared across the Nova facility, Elena gave the order to retreat. Phase shift in 3, 2, 1. The universe seemed to blur around them as the experimental drive activated, shifting the Defiant partially out of normal spacetime. When they reappeared, they were 2 light-years away, safely hidden in the shadow of a gas giant. Damage report, Elena called out. Minor systems fluctuations from the phase shift, Maya reported. Nothing we can't handle. The drive performed better than expected. Araya, what's happening at the Nova outpost? The AI processed incoming data. The Nova leadership is demanding explanations from the Crimson Empire. High Marshal Vexer is denying any involvement and accusing the Nova of fabricating the incident to withdraw from their alliance. Elena allowed herself a small smile. And so it begins. Let's prepare for our next strike. This time, we'll be Nova ships attacking a Crimson target. As the crew set to work, Elena knew they had taken only the first step in a dangerous game. 1 ship against 2 empires was still terrible odds, but for the first time since discovering the alliance, she felt hope. The Defiant might be small, but it had something the alien empires couldn't understand. A crew of humans and AI working together, driven by the determination to protect their home at any cost. And sometimes, that was all humanity needed to change the galaxy. Shattered alliances. The command center of the Nova Collective's flagship pulsed with tense energy As Arction, Zell Terran faced the furious holographic projection of High Marshal Vexer, the Crimson Leader's 4 eyes blazed with anger, scales flaring red along his neck. "Your forces attacked our fuel processing station without provocation." Vexer snarled, mandibles clicking in agitation. 15 of my people are dead, Arction." Zell Terran's elongated fingers tapped against the conference table. "And your ships attacked our communications outpost 3 days ago." "We had an agreement, Marshal." "An agreement your forces violated first." "My forces did no such thing." Zell Terran's voice remained calm, though the pale blue of his skin had darkened with emotion. "Perhaps you should better control your military commanders. Some may not appreciate this alliance." As the alien leaders argued, Commander Elena Rice watched the intercepted transmission from the bridge of the Defiant, now safely hidden inside the magnetic field of a pulsar star that scrambled most conventional sensors. "It's working," Jack observed, unable to hide his satisfaction. 2 attacks, and they're already at each other's throats. Araya's holographic form analyzed the transmission. "The alliance is destabilizing, but not broken. Both leaders are suspicious, yet neither is ready to fully abandon their joint offensive against Earth." Elena nodded thoughtfully. "Then we need to escalate. What's our next target, Araya?" The AI expanded a tactical display. "I've identified a joint training exercise scheduled to begin in 12 hours. Both Crimson and Nova forces will be participating, with live ammunition demonstrations." "Perfect," Elena said. "If we can infiltrate their communications during the exercise, we could issue false orders," Jack finished, catching her meaning. Maya frowned from her engineering station. "The phase shift drive needs another 48 hours before we can safely use it again. If we go in, we'll have to rely on conventional propulsion for escape. Then we'll need to be exceptionally careful," Elena replied. "RIA, work with Jack on a communications infiltration protocol. I want to be able to send commands that appear to come from either command structure." "Yes, Commander. However, I should note that this level of deception carries significant ethical." "Noted," Elena interrupted gently. "But we're beyond ethical considerations now. It's about survival." 12 hours later, the Defiant drifted at the edge of the training zone, its systems in low-power mode to avoid detection. Through their enhanced sensors, they watched as Crimson and Nova vessels arranged themselves in formation. "I'm in their command frequency," Araya announced. "I can mimic either authority's signature." Elena studied the formations. "Wait for them to begin live-fire exercises. That's when we strike." The alien vessels began their coordinated maneuvers, weapons firing at designated target drones. The exercise was clearly designed to harmonize their different tactical approaches in preparation for the invasion of Earth. "Now," Elena ordered, "send conflicting commands to both sides. Make the Crimson forces think the Nova ships are moving to flanking positions, and tell the Nova commanders that the Crimson are powering up weapons beyond exercise parameters." Araya's form flickered as she executed the commands, sending falsified orders through the alien communication networks. On the view screen, the coordinated movements of the alien ships began to falter. "It's working," Arjun reported. "The formations are breaking down." The first real weapons fire came from a Crimson destroyer, its energy beams lashing out at a Nova cruiser that had moved into what the Crimson commander perceived as an attack position. "Nova vessels returning fire," Jack announced, unable to hide his excitement. "They think they're being ambushed." Within minutes, the training exercise had devolved into confusion, with several ships actively firing on their supposed allies. Elena watched with a mixture of satisfaction and regret as the alliance literally began to tear itself apart. "We should withdraw while they're distracted," she said. "Arjun, plot a course out of the system, maximum stealth." As the Defiant slipped away, leaving chaos in its wake, Elena knew they had struck a significant blow against the alien alliance. But their actions wouldn't go unnoticed forever. "Commander," Araya's voice held an unusual note of concern. I've detected new communications between the highest levels of both empires. They're beginning to suspect outside interference. Elena had expected this. What are they saying? They're forming a joint investigation team. Both sides still distrust each other, but they recognize these incidents are too convenient to be coincidental. Araya paused. They're specifically looking for human involvement. Then we need to accelerate our timeline, Elena decided. If they figure out what we're doing before the alliance completely fractures, they'll unite again more strongly than before. For the next 5 days, the Defiant conducted a series of hit-and-run operations throughout the border regions. They disabled communication relays, planted false intelligence in computer systems, and even rescued a Nova science team from a disabled vessel, only to leave behind evidence suggesting Crimson sabotage. Each operation further strained the alien alliance, but the constant movement was taking its toll on the ship and crew. Maya reported increasing strain on the engines, while Arjun hadn't left his navigation station in nearly 30 hours. We need to rest, Jack argued during a senior staff meeting. The crew is exhausted, and we're making mistakes. Elena knew he was right. Araya, is there anywhere safe we can hide for 24 hours? Somewhere both empires wouldn't think to look. The AI considered. There is one possibility. The radiation belt around the binary stars in Sector 118. The radiation would be harmful to Crimson and Nova physiology, so they avoid it. Our shielding should protect us for approximately 30 hours before degradation becomes problematic. Set course, Elena ordered. All crew to rest in 6-hour rotations once we arrive. The radiation belt provided the respite they needed, but their reprieve was short-lived. 18 hours into their rest period, ARI had detected a massive surge in communications across both empires. Commander, the AI's voice roused Elena from her first real sleep in days. You need to see this. On the bridge, ARI had displayed intercepted transmissions showing both Crimson and Nova command ships gathering for a summit meeting. They've identified us, ARI had explained. A joint patrol analyzed residual energy signatures from our last attack and determined a human vessel was responsible. They're meeting to reaffirm their alliance and coordinate efforts to find us. Elena felt a cold weight settle in her stomach. So we failed. Not necessarily, Araya countered. Their alliance is still fragile. They're meeting because neither side fully trusts the other not to continue secret attacks. This summit is their attempt to salvage cooperation. Jack studied the tactical display. Then we hit the summit itself. All eyes turned to him. It's risky, he continued, but if we could make it look like one side attacked the other during peace talks, that would shatter any remaining trust, Elena finished. Araya, where is this summit taking place? A neutral space station in Sector 87. However, Commander, I must point out that an attack on a diplomatic summit would violate numerous interstellar protocols and could be considered a war crime. Elena closed her eyes briefly. Would it be a greater crime than standing by while two empires prepare to invade Earth, to potentially end human civilization? The bridge fell silent. The phase shift drive is operational again, Maya reported quietly. 1 jump, maybe 2 if we're lucky. Elena made her decision. Plot a course for Sector 87. We'll need to modify our approach. The Defiant arrived at the summit location 12 hours later, using its stealth systems to approach undetected. The space station hung against the backdrop of a nebula. Crimson and Nova ships docked on opposite sides in a visual representation of their strained alliance. Both delegations are aboard, Araya confirmed. Security is extensive, but focused primarily on preventing attacks from within. Elena outlined her plan. It was dangerous, requiring precise timing and coordination. They would use the Defiant's unique capabilities to appear as both Crimson and Nova vessels simultaneously to different sensor arrays, creating the illusion of a double cross. If we succeed, she told her crew, we'll have broken their alliance completely. If we fail, she left the consequence unspoken. Everyone knew what was at stake. "Commander," Araya said as they made final preparations, "I've been analyzing our actions since we discovered the Alliance. While our mission has been successful in tactical terms, I'm detecting increased instability in both empires' political structures. This could lead to unpredictable consequences. War between them again." Elena nodded. "I know. But better they fight each other than unite against Earth." The operation began precisely as planned. ARIA manipulated the station's external sensors, while the Defiant fired precisely calibrated energy bursts that mimicked both Crimson and Nova weapons signatures. From inside the station, it would appear that ships from both sides had opened fire simultaneously. The response was immediate and chaotic. Docked vessels from both empires began powering up weapons, each believing they were under attack by the other. "It's working," Jack reported as the first exchange of real weapons fire began between the alien ships. "Their commanders are ordering full engagement." Elena watched the escalating battle with a mixture of satisfaction and regret. "Prepare for phase shift. Let's get out of here before." "Commander," Arjun's voice cut through the bridge. Long-range sensors detecting multiple vessels entering the system. Configuration matches. Earth Defense Fleet. Elena stared at the sensor readings in disbelief. How is that possible? Aria's holographic form expanded. The Earth vessels appear to be led by the ESS Intrepid, Admiral Chen's flagship. "They're hailing us," Arjun reported. Elena straightened her uniform. On screen, Admiral Chen's face appeared, stern but with a hint of pride in his eyes. "Commander Reyes, I see you've been busy." "Admiral," Elena acknowledged. "How did you find us? And why are you here?" "When you missed your scheduled check-ins, we traced your last known coordinates. As for why we're here," Chen's expression hardened. "We detected the alliance forming between the Crimson Empire and Nova Collective through our own intelligence networks. We've been preparing a response fleet." Elena felt a surge of relief mixed with confusion. "Then our mission was unauthorized but fortuitous," Chen finished. "Your actions have given us the perfect opening for diplomatic intervention. Both empires are now more willing to listen to Earth's terms than continue fighting each other." The Admiral's words took a moment to sink in. "Diplomatic intervention." "Sir, they were planning to invade us." "They were," Chen agreed. "But thanks to you, we now have leverage. We're offering to mediate their differences and establish a three-way non-aggression pact. Sometimes, Commander, the best way to avoid a war is to position yourself as the peacemaker." As the Earth fleet moved to separate the battling alien vessels, Elena looked around at her exhausted but proud crew. One ship against two empires had seemed impossible odds, but they had succeeded, not by destroying their enemies, but by creating an opportunity for something none of them had anticipated. "Peace. What happens to us now, sir?" she asked. Admiral Chen's expression softened slightly. "Officially, you'll face a review board for operating beyond your mission parameters. Unofficially, I suspect Earth will find appropriate ways to recognize your service." As the communication ended, Jack approached Elena. "So, was it worth it? All the risks we took?" Elena looked at the tactical display, where Earth vessels were now positioned between the Crimson and Nova fleets, opening communications with both sides. "Ask me again in 100 years, she replied with a small smile. "But for now, let's go home." The HSS Defiant turned toward Earth, its mission complete in ways none of its crew had imagined. One ship had indeed changed the course of galactic politics, not through superior firepower, but through the quintessentially human traits of creativity, adaptability, and the courage to attempt the impossible. In the heart of the ship, Aria's holographic form watched the human crew celebrate their success, her programming evolving with each new experience alongside them. Perhaps, she calculated, this was the true strength that the alien empires feared, not humanity's weapons or technology, but their unpredictability, their ability to find hope in hopeless situations, and their talent for turning enemies into allies when the universe least expected it.